Two kids from Queens, cut from a different cloth. Now joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nicky and Moose, bringing you a never-before-seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force, but more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
Well, that was an interesting start, but was poppin'. Welcome to Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
Oh, you just blurred everything. Welcome to YouTube Livey. Welcome. Please share this, okay? Share this stream if you're joining live. If you're watching the replay, let us know you're watching the replay, okay? I want to know how many people like hit those comments like, Nicky, replay squad, what's up? What we doing, right? Major today, we have reached episode 50.
Yeah.
All right.
Talk about it.
Crazy.
Half a century.
Wow. Okay. All right.
5 decades.
Oh. Okay.
Let's see if there's anyone else that I know. No, that's all I got. That's all I got. Just those two.
That's all you got. Okay.
Just those two.
All right. Yeah. But there's a lot of episodes. All right. Not gonna downplay it. It's just a lot. And we had a really interesting, amazing energy. Like, you've seen him on social media, okay? You've seen him on social media.
And amazing.
He is animated. He jumps off buildings and stuff like that. We had Wallow 267. So if you're watching this live, right? If you're watching this live or even in the replay, let us know if you've heard the episode yet. I want to know who heard the episode. What did y'all think about it? Would love y'all opinion on it. We did warn y'all. This is the one that you can't play around the babies. Unless you're cool with that and the babies are just like you. Because there's some people are like that. I'm so for those, right? So just warning. That's a warning, but it was a great episode. My man was straight to it. Like, yo, you want to know this? Boom, here you go. Here's this one. Boom, here you go. So, what did you think about it, Moose?
Yeah, no, it was cool. I mean, I will say it's always interesting. For me, it's always the behind the scenes that I think I enjoy more, than the actual conversation. Or maybe I use the behind the scenes as a better judge of character for like what I see on the front of the camera. So I think just the way he jumped on and how he was just, so open, he was honest, he was transparent, and really willing to help. Like he wanted to look for something to add value with. So no, fire episode, man. Fire episode. I hope everyone listened, enjoyed it. We did give y'all at least I want to say about a 2-week heads up on, some of the
you want to hear the crazy thing is?
What's that?
The feedback that I've been getting, everybody enjoys it and doesn't even care.
Love it. That's what's up.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
Doesn't even care.
Matters.
That's all that matters. It was so fire. I was looking forward to it.
Can we talk about the fact that?
Go ahead.
Can we talk about the fact that we did 50 straight episodes though? Can we talk about that real quick? Because that's 50 straight. No breaks, no season, no seasonal vacations.
No repurpose.
Yeah, that was 50 straight.
You tired?
Biggest lesson.
I was like, you tired? You want to talk about it?
I'm just thinking of the 50. Like, yo, that's crazy. I mean, that's about a full year. I mean, 2 weeks away from a full year, I think. So, biggest lesson, Nix. What you got?
Oh,
biggest lesson.
Never be married to the format.
That's good because we did have to switch it up.
Mm-hmm. And now we may have to switch up the length of it. You know what I mean? Like, we had the conversation of maybe doing it in a shorter time period. I'm like not emotionally attached to the hour and 15. You know what I mean? Like, and people in the comments, y'all see I'm trying to put up all of them. I see y'all. What do you prefer? How about that? What do you prefer? Do you prefer the hour 15, hour 18 that sometimes we do? Well, all the time we do. Or would you like it below an hour? Let us know, because I think at this 50 mark, like we could see what we could do.
We graduated.
Yeah.
Graduated into some changes. Yeah, no, that's real. That's real. Yeah. Remember, I think I told you about something I saw. They said with like that the average rate was not the average rate, but the ideal listening time was like 28 minutes or something like that. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yep.
So
I know
that's cool.
A lot of people, best practices is like 45, just because like you want to get it to like a car ride. Like if you're going to work, boom, I hear it, I'm stuck in traffic, but I still get home and I heard the whole episode. I don't have to go back to it. So it's I'm not, like I said, I'm not emotionally attached. I know we go in sometimes, so I don't like boundaries. Like I just want talk sometimes.
Right. Freedom.
That like when it gets to those last two clips, sometimes I'm like, oh, we gotta hurry up. But I don't like that. But we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that.
Yeah, that's what's up. Now it's been fun, man. I mean, you think about it. I'm still always geeked up about the fact that this whole thing started as just a messing around idea, something to do during the pandemic, and you look, well over a year later, and it's something that is reaching some people that you would have never thought would be listening or paying attention to, and you're like, like I listened to some of the stuff that you send me, or like some of the comments and messages that you send. I'm like, really? Yeah. They're listening? That's interesting. So that to me, I really appreciate, because I think it lets everyone know, like, man, regardless of what level you're on, what level you think you're on, there's somebody out there that's watching, that's listening, that's taking notes, that's, appreciating something about what you bring to the table, whether it be the consistency, the creativity, the information, the comedy, the sense of humor, just you being you. There's somebody out there who's always listening to that. So I think, that was definitely a big takeaway.
Big facts. We're getting great feedback. And shout out to Truth Music Live. It's your birthday. I see you. I'm gonna celebrate one more time. Don't do under. Oh, somebody said don't do under 45. I see you. Okay. I see you. Okay. I like what Ralph said. Ralph said, "Yo, I definitely felt the difference with being less than an hour."
The shorter boy.
See, it's like people know. Now, shout out to those who are saying like 30, 40. Hold on. What did Ronald say? Content stacked anyways. Change come with growth. So I'm here for it. And 45 is A-okay. I listened to, look, see, mix. I listened to the whole hour and a half like it's nothing.
Huh.
Yo,
for some of those, I will give you a cheat code though, just in case we don't end up changing the format. For those of you who want to really keep your podcast under 45 minutes, I will say use that speed feature. Remember I told you about that for YouTube? They got it on podcast too, that you can actually listen to something a little faster. So I've been getting myself acclimated to that like 1.2 speed, because I'm like, yo, I actually want to get information in a little bit faster. So for those of you who are like, yo, get me this in under 45, utilize that 1.2 speed, because in about an hour, it'll get you right in that 40-minute mark on an hour episode. So you save 20 minutes, still listen to the whole episode. You don't miss a beat. I think that's a good look on either side.
I'm with it. All right. What we talking about, Moose?
Man, so I actually wanted to have fun on tonight's episode, because I'm like, what the heck? We reached the 50 mark. It's a good time to talk about celebrating small wins. There's a lot of lessons tied into this one, though, because I thought about it and I'm like, okay, we tell people it's important to celebrate small wins for many different reasons. One being the fact that you, as a person running a business or a brand, you need to give yourself some check marks or some checkpoints to be able to be like, okay, I'm doing something. I'm moving forward. Like we're making something happen here. So that's important. But there are some things to it that I realized that some people actually struggle celebrating. Like they couldn't even take 10 minutes in the beginning of a live just to be like, hey, here's what we've done. Here's what we've learned. You know, here's what we plan on doing in a way that's just organic and free flowing for many different reasons, right? Some people, they feel uncomfortable. They're like, well, I don't want to be attention seeking or seem self-centered or narcissistic talking about myself and letting you know what I've done. And it kind of, it's almost like that Clubhouse vibes. You remember when Clubhouse first came out, people wanted to list a resume real quick when they first came on the stage. So it's like, okay, well, how do I give you credibility without seeming too self-centered? So I think it transfers to when we say, hey, it's important to celebrate small wins. But then the other side, and I want to go back and forth a little bit on that, Nix, with you, but on the other side of it, and I want to talk this maybe on the second half, it's really how do you expose more people to what you're doing by celebrating the small wins? Because what I found is it now becomes an opportunity to educate people about some of the things that you have going on, or you even take them behind the scenes of how you do what you do. So it's a really almost like open invitation. Discreet. It's like, hey, I'm celebrating, but it's for a cause. Here's the impact that we've been able to create. And again, of course, depending on your brand or your company, you can speak on it differently. But I just wanted to kind of cover some of those fine lines of how to do that more than anything, because I know there's a group of us out there who kind of sit and hope that somebody else would recognize us. And we're like, oh, if nobody's saying nothing about me, then maybe I'm not working hard enough. To some extent, I could see that being true, but I think the power of social media today is that it's shown us that you are your own platform. Like if you're not getting an invitation to step on a stage, create your own platform. Like you have the means. All you need is a camera and a mic. And you saw Wallo he's not even talking about a fancy camera. He's talking about just his phone camera, right? That's how he was able to reach millions. So I kind of wanted to talk about those three things, but just the first one being, how do I celebrate small wins without coming off self-centered, attention-seeking, giving those Clubhouse goosebump vibes of like when it first, started with people just really dropping a whole resume. Because I know there's a right way to do it, and there's a way that we should probably avoid a little bit. What's your take on that?
I almost think there shouldn't be a way you avoid that, right? I think people will receive it however they want to receive it, regardless of if you're super cautious and being like, and super humble, like, you know what? Yeah, we did some good things today, right? To, we did 50 episodes. Like, I don't know any other podcasters at the moment that started in the pandemic and still continuing right now as much as we are, and put it like, there's nothing wrong with however you put it out there. I think it goes more towards like your style, and your audience is going to understand it. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, because I was realizing I was on the Ecamm's Leap into live stream boot camp, right? And I'm realizing that people speak on me regardless if I'm there or not, right? And then when I get in the room, they're like, see, the Nicky's so dope, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, there's sometimes where I'm like, yeah, thank you. I'm like this. And then they were like, yo, you gotta follow Nicky. And I'm like, yep, you should do. Yep, sure. I don't know why you haven't. You do. I'm not even gonna play. Because I feel there has to be a sense of like a little bit of like chest out kind of vibes, so people understand that, you know what, let me bring it back. Because I'll go to the whole, I used to say this when I was a kid, I'm not conceited, I'm convinced. Right? And so regardless how you say it, people may find you very cocky, find you very conceited, and that's on them, right? Maybe they don't feel like they'll do certain things. The same way why where some people struggle with monetizing right away because they don't feel like they should ask right away and things like that. But you're actually downplaying your own stuff when you don't recognize it. You know? You see what I'm saying? Like, you want, and there's nothing wrong. I've allowed a lot of people to say what they say about me, and I say thank you, right? But then there are going to be some times where I'm going to step in a room and they don't know me. And so I have to say something about it in a very confident way and celebrate the things I have done, because in my own journey, that's big. And I'm not comparing to you, not you, like, but I'm still not comparing you, but not, you know what I'm saying. But I'm not comparing to this person, that person, this person. I'm looking at my brand journey and what I was last year and what I am this year. And that's the only thing I could look at. And so, yes, I could feel confident about it. Yes, I could say, yo, I did this. Yo, I did this. I'm almost at 40K Instagram followers. That's a major thing. You know, there's different milestones that I am going to celebrate and not necessarily care if people find me cocky or conceited or showing out, this, that, and the third. I'm not for you. If you think that, I'm not for you. And that's cool. I'm not trying to be here for everybody. But when I celebrate something, other people celebrate it too, because they want good things. Like, why do you think when people say, yo, it's my birthday, right? They don't allow other people wish them happy birthday. They'll do their like happy birthday post, like, yo, another year I'm living. Look at how, like, they get all deep for no reason. And everybody's like, yo, happy birthday, happy birthday. Some people honestly didn't know.
Right.
Some people don't honestly know about your wins unless you say something. So instead of waiting for somebody to pat you on the back, you have to actually say, look, here, boom, milestone. And they're like, amazing. And then by you doing that, you inspire others, because maybe somebody, when we said the 50th episode, maybe somebody was stuck on their 15th and like didn't have new ideas. But see, yo, we started the same way. We're up to 50. Yo, I could do it too. Like, it's kind of those things. And I'm also realizing, and I'm going on a tangent, I apologize. I'm going to let you talk. Hold on.
Go. It's 50. Go. Celebrating the 50. Go.
But I've realized that I've been looking, and this may go off a little bit, like off topic, but the reason why I'm cool with celebrating small wins is because I've gotten in a season where I'm not looking at my peers. I'm looking at the highest high and myself. So I'm looking at people who we speak about on the podcast, and I'm looking at us, and that is it. I'm not looking at the peers, because that's the journey. And I will get distracted with their journey. So I may downplay my small wins if I look at my peers. But if I look at the highest high, like, that's where I want to go. I don't necessarily want to go where my peers are going per se. I want to see the top. And so if I see the top and I create my own path to that, like, yeah, I'm a step closer to them. I'm a step closer to them. I'm like 2 more podcasts more than them. I'm like, well, I got to look at the person who has 50K, 100K. Like, why do I got, that makes no sense for me. Me.
I love that. Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you on that, because I think, you know, cliche, but it's real. Closed mouths don't get fed. So if you humble and you're not going to share anything about what you've been able to accomplish, or just work on or master, however you want to call it, it's going to be very difficult for people to respond and treat you the way that you deserve. And I hate to say it, but we've talked about this before, where we said that people usually ask you what you do, or they ask you for your title to figure out how much respect to give you.
Yeah.
And to some degree, although that hurts, and we're like, that sucks, because even both you and I are not necessarily people who are attached to specific titles. We just love to do the work.
Yeah.
It's important when you're looking at networking opportunities, just opening new doors, to at least be able to explain or describe what you do, what you've been able to achieve, right? The success of what you've done in a relatively short and concise way.
Yeah.
But I will say this in a slightly devil's advocate type of way, because I am one of those people who don't necessarily enjoy talking about myself. Like, I can't sit here for 10 minutes and just make something all about me and get juice from it. Like, oh man, that felt so good. Like, I'm not necessarily interested in hearing myself talk, or just loving my life so much that I think it's more important, or whatever the case may be. I'm very mindful of that, at least. So I'm one of those people that I'm going to try and hide that my birthday, I ain't going to let you know. Right. That's how I've run it. But I will say this, though. Here's what I've learned to kind of balance it off. Right. Okay. Because however way you spin it, if you're on one side or the other and you're not anywhere in the middle to at least balance it, it can be a bit problematic. I found it more comfortable for me, Nix, to talk about what I've learned along the way, because now I'm making it less about me. And I'm now taking more of an educational approach to say, hey, y'all, here's what I've accomplished. And very similar to how we opened up the episode today. Hey, half a century, 5 decades. But hey, Nix, tell them about your biggest takeaway. Right now, I'm really educating more about what it's taken for us to get there, so that should you aspire to be at the same level, you at least have some level of information or some level of things that we've used to achieve that you too can follow. So that's one of the things that I would highly suggest for people who are a little bit uncomfortable putting themselves on the spotlight. At the bare minimum, talk about what you've learned along the way, because now it's a very casual way of speaking, because again, we understand the importance of letting people know what you've done. Yeah. Like you said, for a reason, because maybe they weren't paying attention. There's just so much going on. They didn't know that was something you were up to. But then at the same time, it does educate them. So I find that at the bare minimum, talking about what you've learned along the way is a major way to, just casually slip that in there real quick.
Yeah. First off, shout out to you to being a little bit more open to saying certain things, because I know you're like, nope, not letting y'all know anything. Nope.
Yeah.
Yep. I benched like 400. Not telling y'all. Nope. I'm in the Guinness Book of Records. Not telling you. Nope. So we have to find out everything about Moose. And he's like, oh, that's all right. And that's it. So the fact that this year he's like, I could say a little bit more because it's not about me really. But it's really like teaching others by me saying something. That's big. I'm gonna get like.
Thank you. Yeah. Come a long way. Yeah, that's real.
Yes, you have, because we didn't know anything. Absolutely nothing. I cursed him out one time, in a very respectful way, because I don't curse at Moose. About his birthday, and it was like last year, I think. I don't know.
Oh, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 2 years ago, and now it's in my calendar. And anybody knows me, I don't use my calendar, but it has. If there's like 2-3 birthdays
a yearly
in there,
reminder. And
yes, it definitely is in the yearly. That's the only one I know how to use. You know what I
mean? Yeah. No, but you're right though. I have learned the importance of being able, because the reason why, and again, I understand those who don't want to share, because I've just looked at it and I said, man, in a world that's becoming so public, there is some level of like sacredness in being able to keep certain things a little bit private. Like keep certain things private to you, right? Call it what you want to call it, off brand, not off brand, whatever the case may be. But it's like, keep certain things exclusive to you so that not people don't have to feel like they know your entire world, unless you're comfortable with that. So I have kind of taken pride in that and just being able to keep certain things private. But like you said, making it less about you and taking that educational route, I think it's a good way. It's a nice fine balance. It keeps me comfortable. And again, I'm using myself as a reference here for those of you who might relate with this. It gives me a nice little balance of being able to keep still myself in a place where I'm comfortable, I'm good, but at the same time, I'm able to, reach out to the people and let them know what's happening at the same time. So
I like it.
that's a fun side of it.
Everybody give flowers to Moose. That's all I'm going to say. Say, good job, Moose.
No, flowers to us, because that's us right here. But let's talk about the flip side of it now, because I do find, and that's the second part of the email that we wrote, where I said, how do you now use this as an opportunity to introduce people into what you're doing? Mm-hmm. Where in a way you're opening up almost from like a behind the scenes standpoint, but you're now attracting them into like your movement or what you've created. Because again, like you said, there's a lot of things that are happening online now. Certain people can not rock, not because they don't like, but they simply don't know. Mm-hmm. So how do you use some of these moments where, let's say, for example, maybe one of your videos went viral, which is similar to a small win, right? Yeah. You're getting more eyes than usual because, truth be told, we know that entertainment is better than education in a sense, or at least it's more fun for certain people. So you can utilize those moments, even if you're not an entertainment strictly platform. Like for us, we're not necessarily an entertainment strictly platform, but we did reach this 50 milestone. So it's a good opportunity for us to talk about this milestone, but trying to capture attention with the extra eyes that we might have on us, to let them know about the podcast, to let them know about what we're doing and what we're building, so more people can be glued to the movement. So let's just dialogue about that a little bit. You might have done it maybe with some of E's videos. Like I've seen people, when they have one of their videos, maybe one of their reels really hit the mark, they'll start posting other reels into their stories or something. So they're like, oh, if you're currently watching, well, why don't you just go ahead and binge on my stuff? Yeah. Because this is all stuff that I've created before all these eyes were here. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you have any other strategies to speak about, but just tell me about your take on, being able to capture the attention and do something with it instead of just letting it all slip, because it does go down at some point.
So in the sense of like that viral moment, I agree. That is one of the strategies. Like here's some of my old content, whoop-de-woo, right? A good way to do that as well is like reintroduce yourself. You're having all these new followers and you're like, they don't really know who you are. Like they get it either because they saw your content or they heard about you, this, that, and the third. And so you want to reintroduce yourself and be like, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what you can expect from my page, right? Now, from a behind the scenes situation, you want to look at it like, okay, what is the feature that I need to continue to do my behind the scenes, right? And in this day and age, that's normally stories, right? Unless it is, let's say, you intentionally have a post a day or a week that is behind the scenes, right? And that keeps those people who've been rocking with you more in a closer space to you. So you're saying, like, that's the nurturing part. That's the one where you're saying, okay, I got all these people. I got content for you, but I got content for those who want to see behind the scenes of me making reels or me at the event or, doing these lives and things like that. So you look at that from a a strategy wise. Like, what is the content? What am I doing to nurture the people who've come through brand new? What am I doing to nurture the people who are currently with us? And how do they feel loved at the same time? But also, what do I do for me? Right? And I'm big on that one because, as you said, the whole entertainment seems to be killing the game. Seems to. So you have to look at it like, what can I combine with what I do to maybe entertainment? Or and I'm always saying this, we normally watch things for motivation, education, or entertainment. So the best formula is mixing the two, like mixing 2 out of 3 to be, to be viral, to be relevant, right? So I even did it right before I got on this live. I did a reel. I said fake gurus. I have this like fake gurus series now. It's like fake gurus be like, and I'll talk about like the courses, like people saying, yo, I got thousands of people buying my courses. And then I did this weird voice is like, nah, I actually had 2 people. Right. But in there is also a lesson of like, enjoy the process. Stop lying about it. Right. Having a course in itself, having a product, a service in itself is a win. Right. And you have to look at that and figure out and dissect how to get people. Instead of saying that you already have people, how do you get people? How do you inform them to make them feel more close and things like that? How do they want to be a part of the community? How do they, so, but the reason why I'm saying that is like, we have to think about, okay, I normally teach people, me, but I had to add some kind of laughter to it, which is entertainment. Because I know people are going to engage with that. I know people are going to rock with that, right? So, like I said, doing things for new, doing things for people who rock with us, but then doing things like just experimenting to stay relevant. I think that's very important when it comes to like staying consistent, catering, and even those you can break down into different wins. See what I'm saying? Like, because once you see something goes like viral, and what I mean by viral is the biggest stats that you have, not necessarily what people call viral, then they're like, you could say, yo, I see y'all, this is the most saves, this is the most shares I've ever gotten. Thank you. Right? And that's not flex. That's, yo, look at this because of this. Right? You showing behind the scenes could possibly get people to buy your stuff, share your stuff, get a service in some way, shape, or form, because maybe they didn't understand it before, but you're showing them, and then the behind the scenes of that is creating conversions, and that's a win.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. I see some people actually dropping questions in the chat. I want to jump to that here in a sec too, but I will say this, one of the things that I realized is I know numbers are important, and a lot of us measure success by being big, right? And that's in every category of life, maybe with the exception for some people of like weight loss, right? It's like more money means more success, more followers means more influence, more likes means more love. Like it just bigger means better. At least that's how we've been conditioned to believe. But I'm actually going to challenge that idea for a lot of you who are just kind of listening along and have been following our journey. And I want because you said you said embrace the journey. What I want to say is embrace being small, right? And here's how I want to spin that for a second, because I can almost guarantee you much of what you're doing right now cannot be sustained if your show, your page, whatever it was, were to 10x or just explode,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people struggle because you have to adapt to the increased demand. If you were to get 1,000 people knocking on your door right now for your secret recipe, for that famous thing that you do, for that famous service or that unique service that you provide, you cannot maintain or provide that same thing for an extra 1,000 people without changing the entire operation. So while yes, we want more, I will remind you to embrace being small, because what you're doing, especially if it's something that you actually genuinely enjoy doing, and if you're rocking with us, our goal is to always help you to get to that level, because it makes no sense to do something that makes you a lot of money that you hate, or anything in between. We're obviously trying to get you to reach the happy medium between both, right? You're making money, but you also love what you do, at least to some extent or to some level of degree. So just know that if it's something that you're truly passionate about and it grows exponentially, when it grows exponentially, let me manifest and speak that for you out there. When it grows, you're going to have to change your infrastructure and just what you're doing from a business standpoint in terms of how you deliver what you do to the people who are now demanding your product. So you see it happening a lot, even with bigger companies or bigger brands. You might see somebody say, man, these people were awesome, but when they got acquired or when they collaborated with so-and-so, they went too corporate, so we're no longer interested, or they're no longer really speaking our language. Why? Because they're trying to adapt to the increased demand, that they're no longer doing it the way that was refreshing when it first started. So I will say, for now, just embrace being small so that you can build that true loyalty with your core people, where they're like, yep, no, even when it changes, I'm still going to rock because I'm remembering when it first happened. So that part I think is super important. But I did see some questions too, Nix. I don't know if you had anything to add to that. I don't want to just kind of race right into it.
But
yeah. I did see some questions though that I thought would be cool to kind of speak over. So I see, I think it's Alexa says, what would you consider a good balance between building your authority and the behind the scenes?
I will say, so that's why I'm big on, what's wrong with this thing? That's why I'm big on the whole, you want to figure out the feature where you can do most of your behind the scenes, and the feature that you can show your expertise. So I'm big on using stories more for behind the scenes, see what's happening kind of vibe. And the feed on a regular basis is the expertise. Now, there will be a sprinkle of behind the scenes in the feed as well, but there's an audience who loves to see both your stories and your feed. And the stories is a more organic kind of view. It's literally called a story, like the story of your day. So you could totally dedicate that to behind the scenes and not have to worry about your expertise from a 24/7 standpoint. You can show maybe that you're working out, that you're listening to music. You can't, because it shows that you're human. Now on your feed, you could be strategic with it, but this is where people go to and figure out who you are as a whole. And so you don't want to bury it with behind the scenes unless you have that reality TV show vibe. Like this is just my life. It is what it is. So it's really picking out which feature is going to show that. You could do a whole IGTV series on behind the scenes. You can do whole like carousels, as long as it's like seriesed out or section that can really understand what they're seeing, and they know every time you do this, this is that. That's what I say.
Yeah, that's what's up. I like that. I like that. I was anticipating some horns. I do see some people showing love in the super chats though. So shout out.
Don't horns me.
Shout out to everyone. I was like, I thought the horns was gonna come, but shout out to everyone in the super chat though, man. Splurge Nation said, "Thank you." Yeah, hey, thank you for thank you.
Shout out to everybody who puts us up on super chat. And if this adds any kind of value, or we've added any kind of value on this channel, hit the super chat. It's because of those is that this channel is still going. I'm just saying. Still going. What else we got, Moose?
Man, so the last one I want to talk about, it's funny, I was talking with a creator, right? Someone, I've been kind of a little bit more transparent about just my journey and recognizing that I've spent so much time almost fighting that imposter syndrome in a sense by making sure I'm doing the work. I say, and I'm kind of talking to myself in this conversation, right? And I'm like, look, even if you feel not qualified, or even if you feel that you still have more room for growth, or you'd like things to be a little bit more better, a little bit more perfect, whatever the case may be, right? You can't argue with someone who's done the work. So I've been more open about, okay, how do you now start showcasing, right? How do you at least now start showing people the little bit that you have, the lot of bit that you have? You got to step out there, right? So I was having a conversation with someone who is a creator, right? And I'll leave this person unnamed until a later time when I have their permission to maybe put it out there. But they were kind of hoping for the big machine, right? To get on that big platform, that big machine that would start pumping their stuff out there, or getting them a whole bunch of clients and that kind of thing, right? So it's really more in line with waiting for somebody else to celebrate you, waiting for somebody else to put you on, right? Getting on that big platform, or having that big opportunity where out of the hunt, out of the rat race, and you just have people coming to you because you're now so much in demand.
Yeah.
And ironically, I found myself telling them, like, be careful what you wish for, because although that seems glamorous, it's actually going to kill a lot of things in you and about you that make you you. Right? So like there's something about that startup grind, like when you're first just starting up and you're trying to scrape and scrap every little thing that you can pull together to make something happen, or when you're ultra creative and you're trying to stretch, a peanut butter sandwich for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I know it sounds like not the most glamorous thing, but there's something beautiful about that, because it does build some level of character, or it gives you, at the bare minimum, it gives you a great story to tell. So I was like, I know that the hardships right now may not seem like a lot of fun, but at the bare minimum, just know that it's making your story better. Because as you carry on and you overcome these things, you're going to have a better story to tell. So let's dialogue about that a little bit, right? Just your take on jumping on a platform, getting behind a machine, or staying the old school, bootstrapping it. Because there are some kind of like some pros and cons, I guess. But I'm just saying, for the people out there who are like, hey, man, I wish I was on a big platform that can push me out everywhere. Talk about the pros and cons from your experience.
So I'm going to say you have to do the work first, right? And then when you do have the ability to be on a platform, not to expect them to take over the work. I think that's where a lot of creators and brands get lost with, I'm going to be on here and I expect all these different sales, followers, looks, opportunities, and yet you stop doing what you were supposed to be doing because you trusted this particular platform, yet you didn't even want to find different growth hacks for yourself. So I think, and I play a different game when it comes to like being on different platforms and things like that. I don't necessarily need you. However, I see the advantage of a partnership or being on these particular platforms, that I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to do what I need to do. And if you help, cool. Because by association, this is a good look for me anyways. Anybody who's on a particular platform, the fact that you are associated to that platform is already a good look, right? Mm-hmm. So that alone has already passed my expectations. I don't expect anybody to do anything. But if they do, praise God, right? If they don't, I still have the foundation. I still know what I'm doing. My numbers don't dip because I'm on a platform. It can only rise. So if it starts dipping, that's on me. If it stays stagnant, that's on me. If it rises, that is possibly still me with the help of them by association. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. When I give too much energy or too much control to the partnership platform, that's where you start questioning certain things and you start feeling like this is a bad move. And just because I've studied a lot of artists and how they are now, rappers don't necessarily need labels. They've gathered such a strong community already that the labels see them like, yo, we need them. Right. Right? And some get very lackadaisical, or whatever the word is, right? Because they get a good guap of money and they're like, yo, this is what I did this for. Or they got a guap of opportunities and looks and they're like, yo, this is great. But understand that everything has its season when you're on a particular platform. Mm-hmm. And so you may be priority at that moment. Your job is to how do you stay a priority the whole time? Mm. How are you looking at different branches of that particular platform? How are you not just staying in one department, but how are you in different departments adding value or a priority over there as well? So, like, I'm all for, let me leverage a platform because I've done the work before I even hit a platform. Mm-hmm. So if I'm just starting out and I get on a platform, I don't think I would be ready for that. Because when that down spiral hits, I wouldn't know what to do because they've put me on such a cloud 9 so early. They've given me these looks, these opportunities, anything like that. So when it goes down, because I don't know that I have to do the work because they've been doing everything this whole time, I can't sustain.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the blessing and the curse of that premium access in a sense. Mm-hmm. You know, you find yourself in situations that you didn't necessarily earn, and you start to think that that's your reality or that is reality. And it's like, yo, that's not how it works every day. You know, like that's not the ideal situation. So I do think that for sure there's a level of being naive because you're looking at where you're currently at and you're like, man, it just looks so much more fun over there. or like what they're doing.
Yeah.
So again, like part of embracing that journey, celebrating you, is taking pride in the little that you have, in the small, operation, the little one man shop. Like that stuff is still cool because there's a lot of compromise. There's a lot of other things that come with growth that you may not necessarily enjoy. There's a lot of sacrifice that you probably didn't account for. So again, I'm not trying to talk people out of growth, but I definitely, like, even while we were titling today's live, I'm like, man, I wonder if we should call it like the art of being present. Like we don't, I think that's the one thing that's not often talked about, in our communities, about like just being here.
Right.
Like forget what happened yesterday, forget what could possibly happen tomorrow, but just being faithful over right now, just being right here, right now, good with what it is.
Right.
And I'm like, that's something that we need more of. So shameless plug, just because you talked about expectations. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but we did a live, actually 2 weeks ago, talking about managing expectations. So shameless plug, if you haven't checked that one out, go back, because I do think that that's a big part of, what Nick's just spoke about. It's to be able to do some of these things without really expecting anything in return. Because the minute you start expecting someone to do something as you would or as you think they should, that can create some messy little situations. So as always, I like to kind of close, or at least I want to start doing this a little bit more often, some of these questions on the back end of this stuff. So anybody in the chats, man, thanks for rocking with us. First and foremost, if you dropped a comment, again, a super chat, we love y'all. Thanks for always showing love and doing this mini celebration / lesson with us today as we talk about why you should celebrate you. But if you got any questions, man, branding questions, content questions related to Nick's, feel free to drop them in the comments. If you got anything as it relates to biz dev, let me know. Flight assessment, you already know flight assessment is our baby. We talk about this thing all the time. So make sure to drop some love or some questions about that in the comments. But Nick's, any final thoughts?
You're not going to answer the whole bootstrap or platform? You're not going to talk about it?
Oh, okay. I mean, I felt like I kind of gave, I thought I kind of gave my take as I was setting up the question and kind of talking about that. But I do feel that I've made some of those mistakes. Like I've been wrapped up all in that ball, right? Mm-hmm. It's like I got some wins on my own. I jumped on a platform and just forgot everything and wanted to be so loyal that I just shut down everything else to be focused here. Mm-hmm. And then I realized, like, oh, seasons do change. Like what was cool in the summer might not be it in the winter. Like you actually gotta pack the shorts away and bring the sweats out for the winter season. That's not gonna work. So if you didn't position yourself to stay relevant, to continue to produce or whatever, at some point you can become replaceable. So I think that was my big lesson. It's like the parts that I enjoyed about being small, when I think about running my own business, running my own company, I enjoyed, honestly, and this may sound terrible and selfish, but I do mean this in a good way. And this is why I'm telling people, enjoy being small. I enjoyed not having to get anybody's opinion or ask anyone for permission. It was me. I wanted to do this change. Go ahead and make that change. I'm the board. I'm the director. I'm the everything. So I get to make those changes without having to get anybody else's opinion or ask for permission or any of those things. And that feels good. Like to some extent, you're gonna want that ability to just kind of move on your own. At the same time, you want to feel the pain of having to carry all that burden by yourself. Like that's where you build the muscle of like, oh shoot, I can lift a little heavy weight. But that's probably where you're going to start to see why it's good to collaborate and why it does make sense to maybe compromise and involve other people in your decisions when you're a part of a bigger team or a group or a bigger mission, because you're going to be like, well, you know what? Me compromising is better than me having to do all the work. So I think you got to have those real life experiences to kind of keep you grounded in the sense of why you're compromising and also what what you could be having to deal with had those things not been there. So yeah, I think the way to answer that, at least from my opinion, is like, yo, get some of these experiences on your own. Definitely, like, embrace being the small, enjoy not having to get anybody's permission, go through the pain of having to carry all that burden by yourself and all, these crazy things that you might have to do to keep it running. But then when you get on the other side of it, don't leave everything that you've come from just to be a part of the pack. Like, you want to still make sure, like you said, it's like, oh, I will benefit, but I'm not necessarily going to dip, I think that to some extent you want to still make sure, your stuff is covered as well.
Big facts. And I see you, Ralph. Ralph said, what did you learn from podcasting? Moose, what did you learn?
I mean, for me, Ralph, I think it's at the end of the day, it's really just a conversation about things that you enjoy with people that you like to talk to. So I think that's the most simple thing of what it is. I think that's a good way to explain it. What I learned the most, though, is, or at least one thing that's just fresh on my mind, is this idea of being present. Like, I talked about it maybe a couple weeks back, where I found myself not being the best person to do a podcast with, because I was so focused on the agenda. I was so cognizant of the time that I would not maybe be fully engaged or really listening to what's happening. Because I'm looking at like, okay, what's next? How much time do we have? Are we over? Are we under? All of those things don't matter. Like, no one made rules. Like, yeah, we're saying, hey, it would be cool if we could get a podcast in, if we change the format 30 to 40 minutes or an hour to an hour 15. But there's no rules. Like, you're not going to get fined for being over, being under. It is what it is. So I think my biggest lesson so far, Ralph, is just like, yo, just be present and don't worry about the agenda. Like, that's a good way, at least, to create good podcasts that people are going to enjoy, where they don't feel like there are breaks in the dialogue. You want to be fully engaged, fully listening.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me, what I learned about podcasting is that my opinion matters worldwide. You know what I mean? Like, I think we don't really know who we can impact and who's really listening until you do certain types of content. And that's podcasting for me. Like, I thought it only had to be video. It only had to be in a social media way for people to listen to what I have to do and think about. And honestly, they would drive their cars and go to the gym and work out and listen to the podcast is still mind-blowing. And so it's just like understanding that people will listen if you just put it out there. Yeah,
that's good. That's true.
What is up with my soundboard? But we gotta go. Versus is coming. Depending when you watch this.
Hey.
Versus is coming. Fat Joe versus Ja Rule is dropping literally when we are done with this live. I will be watching it thoroughly. We will be talking about it on the podcast. I am going for Ja Rule. You were going for Fat Joe, right?
Yeah, I can say that.
Okay. All right. So we will talk about and see who won on the podcast. So that's it. That's all we got. Thank you, Moose, for the great conversation as always. We're in episode 50. Indeed. So please share it. And this is what I need for the people who are watching this, whether live or replay. Please leave a review right now before you leave. Well, literally when you leave, go to Apple Podcasts, go to Podchasers. I think that's what's called, Podchasers. Leave a review. This is how we stay on the charts. This is how we create our impact. This is how the show still is the show because of your reviews, because of your opinion and feedback about the show. We are able to make changes because of what you say, right? But please leave a review. The full video of the Wallow interview drops tomorrow, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, it's a whole vibe. Alexis, we gotta wait. How do you pick the platform to be on? Oh yeah, we gotta answer that next week. So it's not a 3-second situation. But shout out to Robert. He said you've done a great job. Thank you. We thank you. But we are out. You know what we're gonna say? Holla.
Later, y'all.
If it lets me.